Follow the trend, tend to benefit while avoiding harm. Hello everyone, this is Mr. D. Today, I want to introduce the empty and death. Before introducing the function of the empty and death, you need to know how it came about. To explain how the empty and death comes about, I must first explain how the sexagenary cycle comes about. As I said before, the sexagenary cycle is formed by the combination of 10 heavenly stems and 12 terrestrial branches. 10 multiplied by 12 is 120. Why are there only 60 of the sexagenary cycle? Because that is not a simple arrangement and a combination of 10 heavenly stems and 12 terrestrial branches, but like a wheel, step by step forward. After patiently watching the following deduction process, you will understand it. These are 10 heavenly stems, and these are 12 terrestrial branches. For your convenience, I replaced them with 22 letters. Then we map the 10 heavenly stems to the 12 terrestrial branches one to one. As you can see, because K and L don't match heavenly stems, so K and L are the empty and death in QA Xun. What is Xun? I have already introduced it in the previous video. Now you know why a Xun is only 10 days. Next, the 10 heavenly stems and the 12 terrestrial branches continue to match, and the missing terrestrial branches are filled in the order of itself. This is QK Xun. Because I and J don't match the heavenly stems, so I and J are the empty and death in QK Xun. Next, we repeat the last operation. This is QI Xun. Because G and H don't match heavenly stems, so G and H are the empty and death in QI Xun. Next, we repeat the last operation. This is QG Xun. Because E and F don't match the heavenly stems, so E and F are the empty and death in QG Xun. Next, we repeat the last operation. This is QE Xun. Because C and D don't match the heavenly stems, so C and D are the empty and death in QE Xun. Next, we repeat the last operation. This is QC Xun. Because A and B don't match the heavenly stems, so A and B are the empty and death in QC Xun. Next, we repeat the last operation. This is QA Xun. QA Xun has appeared before, and we can see that a new cycle has begun. If we combine 10 heavenly stems and 12 terrestrial branches in this way, there are only 60 unique combinations. So the sexagenary cycle has only 60 names. Because in the Chinese lunar calendar, every day is named after the sexagenary cycle, so the empty and death has always existed. If we encounter the empty and death in the 4 lessons or the 3 transmissions, it often means that the things we predict will not succeed or lose. When the symbol on the heaven plate is empty and death, we call this symbol the empty and death. When the symbol on the earth plate is empty and death, we call the symbol of the heaven plate on this earth plate the falling into empty. For example, in this course, if the predicted date is in QA Xun, then the K and L and heaven plate are empty and death. The H above K and the I above L are the falling into empty. The function of the empty and death and the falling into empty are the same. The empty and death is true in some cases, and false in some cases. What is a false empty and death? In some cases, even if there is an empty and death in the 4 lessons and the 3 transmissions, we still can get what we want in the end. But the time to get it or succeed will be delayed. How to judge whether the empty and death is true or false in a certain course? Various books introduce various formulaic summaries, but in my practical application, these formulaic judgment methods are inaccurate. We cannot use rigid criteria to determine whether the empty and death is true or false. My personal experience is that judging the true or false of the empty and death depends on the overall trend of the course. If the overall trend of the course is success and obtaining, then the empty and death is false. If the overall trend of the course is very common, and the signs of success and obtaining are very weak or even no, then the empty and death is true. How to judge whether the overall trend of a course is good or bad or fantastic? I will introduce it in detail in the following videos. Regarding the various formulaic methods for judging the true or false of the empty and death, I will also introduce them one after another. Although they are not 100% accurate, they still have great reference value for us to understand the mechanism of Liu Ren. Subscribe, be your own prophet.